Almost a year since you first laid eyes on her. It seems like a lifetime ago now. You were sitting in the corner of a dusty train car, the rhythmic clattering of the wheels lulling you into a half-sleep. Then she boarded. She was unlike anyone you had ever seen. Tall, with a figure that seemed both elegant and strong. Her eyes had this softness to them, like she could melt the world with a single glance. You didn't know her name yet, but you knew, deep in your bones, that she was going to change your life. And she did. It wasn't long after that fateful encounter when you found yourself standing at the altar with her. The vows come easily from your lips, words of devotion you truly meant. Her name was Helen, and she was everything a man in the early 1900s could want in a wife. She was dutiful, hardworking, and most of all, she was yours. Together, you bought a modest plot of land, a farm, that stretched for miles under the endless Midwestern sky. Life was good. Hard, but good. The first few months of marriage passed like a dream. You worked the land from dawn till dusk, sweating under the sun, while Helen tended the house, the garden, and the livestock. In the evening, she'd greet you with a warm meal, and the smell of baked bread and stew filling the air as the two of you sat down at the wooden table, lit only by the flicker of oil lamps. She was a quiet woman, but she had a smile that could make your hard day feel lighter. She had her quirks, sure. There was always something a bit distant about her, like a part of her mind was elsewhere, always calculating. But you chalked it up to the burdens of the farm life. After all, it wasn't easy managing a household in these times. But lately, things have begun to change. You first noticed it with the food. You always prided yourself on being a man of simple tastes, bread, butter, a hearty stew. Nothing fancy, just enough to fill your belly after a long day in the fields. But over the past few weeks, something's been off. The bread doesn't taste right. There's a bitterness to it that you can't quite place, a strange aftertaste that lingers long after you swallowed it. At first, you didn't think much of it. Maybe Helen tried a new recipe or used flour that was on the verge of spoiling. But then it starts happening with other things. The stew tastes metallic, like it's been laced with something foul. The tea, which was used to soothe your tired bones, now makes your throat feel tight, like something's clawing its way up your windpipe. You don't mention it to Helen. There's no point in worrying her over something so small. But the thought nags at you, like a splinter buried just beneath the skin. Then there's Helen herself. She's different now. At first, it was subtle. She'd snap at you more often, grow irritable over small things, a cup of tea left on the table, the door left ajar. Her patience, which once seemed endless, now wears thin at the slightest inconvenience. You try to brush it off, telling yourself it's just the stress of running the farm, but deep down you feel it. Something is wrong. You notice her watching you more. Her eyes linger on you in ways that they didn't before, like she's studying you, weighing something in her mind. You catch her in the middle of the night sometimes, standing by the window, staring at the darkness. When you ask her what's wrong, she only smiles, a cold, tight-lipped smile that sends chills down your spine. "Nothing, dear," she says. "Go back to bed." It's a few days later when you find the papers. You weren't looking for anything particular, just doing some cleaning in the study. Helen's papers are always scattered about. That's when you see it, tucked away in the bottom drawer of the desk, hidden beneath a stack of old receipts and letters. An insurance policy. Your name is at the top, bold and unmistakable. It's a life insurance policy. Your heart skips a beat as you scan the document. It was taken out shortly after your wedding, and the payout is substantial. Too substantial for a modest farm like yours. The beneficiary, of course, is Helen. Your mind races. You can't believe what you're saying. Why would she take out such a policy without telling you? It doesn't make sense. But then, a cold realization sets over you. The food, the bitterness, her sudden change in mood. The way she's been watching you. She's poisoning you. The days pass like a blur after that. You don't confront her. You can't, not yet. If she suspects you know, it could mean your death. So you pretend everything is fine. You smile when she smiles, nod when she speaks, and you're always watching, always waiting for the right moment to act. You start skipping meals, claiming you're not feeling well. You eat what little you can from the pantry, always making sure to avoid anything she prepares, but she notices. She knows something's changed, and her demeanor shifts again. She's colder now, distant. She barely speaks to you anymore, only offering curt replies when necessary. And then, one night, it happens. You're lying in bed, the farmhouse dark and silent. The sound of the wind rustling through the fields is the only thing that breaks the silence. You try to sleep, but your mind is restless, turning over everything that's happened, everything you've discovered. Then you smell it. Smoke. At first, you think you're dreaming, but then you see it, a faint orange glow creeping through the cracks in the walls. Panic surges through you. The house is on fire. You leap from your bed, calling out to Helen, but there's no response. You stumble through the house, your lungs filling with acrid smoke as you search for her, but she's gone. The front door hangs open, swinging gently in a breeze. She's left you behind. Your heart pounds in your chest as you realize what's happening. This isn't an accident. This is her final move. The poison was enough. She's burning it all, and burning you with it. You race through the farmhouse, grabbing whatever you can, but the flames are spreading too quickly. The walls crack and splinter, the fire devours them, and the heat is unbearable. You manage to break through the back door, stumbling out into the night, gasping for air. Behind you, your home. The life you built goes up in flames, a roaring inferno that lights up the night sky. You turn and look, hoping against hope to see Helen, to find her somewhere in the chaos, but she's gone, vanished into the night like a ghost. In the aftermath, you are left with nothing but ashes and questions. Helen, your wife, your partner, wasn't who you thought she was. She was something else entirely, a black widow. And you were just another fly caught in her web. But you survived. As you stand in the cold night, watching the last of flames flicker out, you realize that this is only the beginning. You will rebuild. You will start again. And this time you'll be wiser. You'll be ready because somewhere out there, Helen is still lurking, waiting for her next victim. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. If it's your first time here, welcome to the channel. My name is Andrew, and today we're talking about Belle Gunness, the Black Widow of Indiana. Now, this is another one of the, one of the true crime stories. Hey, there's a cat in the background. A sleepy boy. But yes, another one of the true crime. This one from the early 1800s. It starts in like the 1880s, maybe a little bit earlier than that. But early 20th century. Anyways, if you like what we do here, you want to see more, why don't you like, subscribe, leave me a comment down below. That way the algorithm boosts it on your homepage. And yeah, let's get into the video. Imagine a rural, quiet farmstead at the turn of the 20th century in Indiana. An idyllic place with acres of farmland, animals grazing in the pastures, and the smell of fresh earth hanging in the air. A place where locals are known for their hard work, tight-knit community, and modest lives. It was here, nestled away from the bustle of the city life, that Belle Gunness made her home. From the outside, she was the image of resilience and fortitude, a tall, broad-shouldered woman. From the outside, she was the image of resilience and fortitude, a tall, broad-shouldered woman who had immigrated from Norway and made a new life in America. She had seen hardships, losing her husband, raising children alone, and maintaining a farm, yet Belle was known for her warmth and charm, traits that drew many men to her doorstep. They came from all over the country, men hoping to start anew. Men who had answered her personal ads in search of love, stability, and companionship. But once they entered Belle's life, they never left. Of course, over the course of more than a decade, these men vanished. Belle had the ability to project innocence while hiding the sinister reality of her actions. Her crimes went undetected for years, and she accumulated wealth at the expense of those who trusted her. What drove a woman who outwardly embodied the American dream to commit such heinous acts? This is the story of Belle Gunness. A woman whose greed, manipulation, and capacity for cruelty left a trail of death and destruction. Belle Gunness, born Brynhild Paulsdottir Storseth, came into the world on November 11th, 1859 in a small rural town of Selbu, Norway. Selbu was far removed from the grand cities of Europe, a place where life revolved around farming and survival. The community, like many others in Norway at the time, struggled with economic hardship. This region was marked by harsh winters, limited agricultural resources, and few opportunities for advancement, particularly for women. Little is known about Belle's childhood. It's said that she was a strong-willed and ambitious young woman. In those days, options for women were limited. A life of toil awaited those who remained in their hometowns. Some suggest that Belle's dream for a better life began in these early years, as she watched other Norwegians leave for America, the land of opportunity. Many immigrants at the time wrote home about the riches and possibilities that awaited those who were willing to work hard, and Belle was determined to make a new life for herself. In 1881, at the age of 21, Belle left Norway and traveled to America, following the path of thousands of other Scandinavian immigrants. The journey across the Atlantic was grueling, often marked by illness and overcrowded conditions on steamships. Immigrants were packed into steerage compartments, and weeks-long voyages were filled with uncertainty. When Belle finally arrived in the United States, she landed in Chicago, a burgeoning city that was quickly becoming a center of industry, commerce, and immigrant labor. Once in Chicago, Belle adopted the Americanized version of her name and became known as Belle Gunness. Like many immigrants, she found work as a domestic servant. At the time, domestic service was one of the few jobs available to immigrant women, and it provided room, board, and a meager wage. However, Belle's ambitions were far greater than scrubbing floors and cleaning homes. She had a keen eye for opportunity, and she knew she could rise above her station. Belle met her first husband, Mads Albert Sorensen, a fellow Norwegian immigrant, in the mid-1880s. The two were married, and Belle transitioned from servant to housewife. They opened a candy store in the city, hoping to capitalize on the bustling streets of Chicago. Yet, the store never took off. It mysteriously burned down within a year of opening. Though Belle and Mads lost their business, they did not leave empty-handed. The fire was ruled accidental, and they collected a generous insurance payout. This would become a pattern in Belle's life. Tragedies and accidents followed by financial gain. Her ability to manipulate circumstances to her benefit soon became clear. In 1900, Mads Sorensen passed away under similarly suspicious circumstances. His death was initially attributed to heart failure, but whispers of foul play followed Belle. Notably, Mads had recently taken out 2 life insurance policies, which overlapped on the day. Belle claimed both payouts, walking away with a substantial sum of money, enough to leave the city behind and start a new chapter in her life. Belle moved to Porte, Indiana, purchased a sizable farm with her insurance money. The sprawling property, with its fields and barns, became the perfect stage for what would soon unfold. A house of horrors, hidden in plain sight. Belle settled in quickly, presenting herself as a hardworking widow and mother, raising her adopted children in the quiet countryside. Her neighbors regarded her as a strong, independent woman, unusual for the time, but admired her resilience. However, Belle's tragic streak continued. Shortly after relocating, her farmhouse burned down. Once again, she collected the insurance money and rebuilt, further solidifying her financial independence. It was during this time that Belle began to place personal ads in Scandinavian American newspapers, seeking male suitors who were financially stable, hardworking, and interested in joining her on her farm. One by one, men responded to Belle's ads, each hoping to find love and a new life. These suitors, often middle-aged, lonely men, traveled from distant towns and cities with life savings in hand. They were charmed by Belle's letters, her promises of partnership, prosperity, and happiness on her Indiana farm. But for each man who arrived in Belle's doorstep, it would be the last journey they had ever made. The farm became a revolving door for these men. They thrived, eager to meet Belle in person and start a new life. Yet, once they were in her home, they vanished without a trace. Belle's neighbors noticed the steady stream of men coming to the farm, but rarely saw any leave. When asked about her suitors, Belle offered simple explanations: that they had moved on, gone back to their families, or simply weren't good enough to fit in with the life she offered. And because of Belle's reputation as a hard-working widow and mother, no one thought to question her further. The truth was far more sinister. Belle was methodically luring men to her farm. where she would kill them, dismember their bodies, and bury them in shallow graves on her property. She was calculating and meticulous, ensuring that there was no trace of her crimes that could easily be discovered. The men, desperate for companionship, were easy prey. Belle would poison or bludgeon them, and once they were dead, she would strip them of their money and belongings before disposing of their bodies. Belle's greed seemed insatiable. Each man who answered her ads represented another opportunity to grow her wealth, and with each successful murder, her confidence grew. The quiet Indiana farm, far from removed from prying eyes, became the perfect setting for her killing spree. That part reminds me of the Bloody Benders, where they would strip the bodies of belongings or anything of worth. Common thing back then, people would carry stuff like that with them. So it makes perfect sense that she would strip the bodies of anything, like they were wearing watches or anything like that, really. In April of 1908, everything changed. Belle's farm caught fire once again, but this time the blaze consumed more than just a building. Charred remains of several bodies were found in the rubble, including what was thought to be Belle herself and her children. However, the body believed to be Belle's was much smaller than expected, and questions arose about whether she had truly perished in the fire. As investigators combed through the ruins of the farmhouse, they discovered more than what they could have imagined. The shallow graves scattered around the property held the remains of multiple men who had gone missing over the years. Belle's reign of terror was finally uncovered, and the small town of Porte was thrust into the national spotlight. The discovery of so many bodies on Belle's property shocked the nation. Newspapers sensationalized the case, dubbing her the Black Widow of Porte. People were horrified that a woman, especially one who seemed so unassuming, could have committed such atrocities. The investigators worked tirelessly to identify the remains and piece together the timeline of Belle's crimes. As the investigation unfolded, Belle's farmhand, Ray Lempier, became a key figure in the case. Ray had been infatuated with Belle and had worked for her for several years. He was accused of setting the fire and destroyed the farmhouse, but he vehemently denied any involvement in the murders. Ray claimed that Belle had faked her death and escaped, leaving behind the body of a woman in her place. His claims fueled widespread speculation about whether Belle had truly died in the fire or if she had fled to start a new life somewhere else. The question of Belle's fate remains one of the greatest mysteries in the case. Some believe that she perished in the fire, her reign of terror coming to a fiery end. Others, however, are convinced that Belle managed to escape, vanishing in the shadows to live out the rest of her days in hiding. There were reports of Belle sightings across the country in the years to follow the fire, but none were confirmed. Theories about Belle's motives also persisted. Was she driven solely by greed, or was there something darker at play? Some suggest that Belle was a sociopath, incapable of empathy or remorse. Others believe that her upbringing and poverty, combined with the harsh realities of the immigrant life in America, fueled her desire for wealth and control. Whatever the reason, Belle Gunness left behind a legacy of fear and fascination. Her story has since become a part of American folklore, a cautionary tale about the dangers of greed and deception. Belle Gunness was not just a killer, she was a master manipulator, able to project the image of a grieving widow while concealing her true nature. Her crimes serve as a reminder that even the most unassuming individuals can harbor unspeakable evil. As we look back at the life of Belle Gunness, it's clear that her story is more than just a tale of murder. It's a reflection of the darker side of the American dream. Belle came to the country with a hope of building a better life for herself, but along the way, her ambitions turned deadly. She used the very system that was supposed to uplift her to exploit and destroy others. To this day, the mystery of Belle Gunness continues to captivate people. How did she manage to evade detection for so long? Did she truly die in a fire, or did she escape to live out her life in anonymity? And how many more victims might have there been, lost to time and buried in shadow somewhere? Belle Gunness' story may never be fully resolved, but one thing's for certain. Her legacy as one of America's most notorious female killers will endure for generations to come. So, that's the story of Belle Gunness, Indiana's Black Widow. Now, I don't really have any theories. It's certainly possible that she escaped the fire and went on to live somewhere else. It's also certainly possible that her farmhand caught the house on fire because he was tired of seeing other men come to be with the woman that he wanted to be with. There's any number of thoughts, doggo in the background. Any number of thoughts, any number of theories could be put forth for this one. I kind of like the one that she escaped and went on to live somewhere else. You know, we saw with the Bloody Benders that they escaped when they thought that their time was coming to a close. They escaped and headed somewhere else. You know, we never found them. So, any number of theories. Anyways, that's going to be it for this video. We'll do some housekeeping here at the end. So, as you have probably seen, I didn't put up any videos last week. This whole month of January, the end of December, and this whole month of January, I've been kind of dealing with just massive personal issues in my life. You know, between like losing some friends that I've made here on YouTube, like people that became pretty close with, and one of them especially that I became close with, and you know, just dealing with, you know, the fact that I might be losing my house, and you know, just a myriad of other things. You know, not seeing my daughter for a few weeks is just taking a toll on me. I'm feeling like mentally drained. Like my depression is coming back. I don't like that it's coming back. But you know, it is what it is. I've gotten over it before. I'll get over it again. You know, I gotta keep going. So you know, I took the week off last week. I didn't really do anything. I spent a lot of time playing video games because that was the only thing that was taking my mind off of everything. So going forward, I'm still going to make content. I'm in the process today of making a bunch of videos and scheduling them out. So there will be regular content back on the channel. I want to say welcome to all the newer viewers that have subscribed along the way. You know, thank you guys for checking out the content. Thank you guys, my normal subs, for sticking around, still viewing the videos. I appreciate you guys all so much. You guys have been able to. It's helped me stay social, right? Like I don't really have a social life. I don't really have any friends outside in my outside life. Like I still have my best friend, but he lives a few cities away, and like I'm not mobile right now because you know, my truck was destroyed and I was never able to go, you know, buy a new one. So you know, I'm kind of stuck at home a lot, and I don't really have anybody to talk to. So like, you know, this whole community that I've been able to like build up around myself has just been a great thing for me. So like this whole community has just been, you know, great. I have nothing but good things to say about the community as a whole. But anyways, I'm gonna get out of here, stop being soft, and yeah, I hope you guys have a great day, and I will see you on the next one. Peace out.